After 4 downgrades in the last 4 trading days, Tesla stock is green today by almost 2% at the time of recording this video. So what does this mean for the rest of the week? Can Tesla stock continue to bounce heading into the last final trading days before Q2 delivery numbers are released next Sunday on July 2nd? Well, I have a pushback on the recent downgrades. Analysts have downgraded Tesla based on valuation concerns, but what if I told you that Tesla is almost twice as cheap as Microsoft? Would that catch your attention? Well, it's certainly not catching the attention of Wall Street banks. We're here to give you the latest on what's happening with Tesla, all the news today, everything happening in the markets, and the big catalyst coming tomorrow, which is going to be Fed Jerome Powell. Ladies and gentlemen, if you find value out of this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you guys can stay up to date with all of this information. Go ahead, get yourself free stocks down below in the description with Webull, as well as if you want to come join the trading community, get access to all of my trades in real time, as well as other cool strategies. We have a newswire over there. Something for everyone. Down below in the description as well is the link for that. So let's start with the value proposition. The reason that Tesla has been downgraded recently, and no surprise, Tesla did not get downgraded today, and the stock is finally green. You have seen downgrades from Barclays, Morgan Stanley, DZ Bank, and Goldman Sachs over the last 4 trading days. All of them are concerned about the valuation of Tesla. Well, we're going to put that to rest here in this video, because what if I told you that Microsoft is over 2 times as expensive as Tesla on a PEG ratio? The PEG ratio is the best way to value growth companies because it's essentially the PE ratio divided by the growth rate. Would you rather buy a stock with a higher PE ratio if it was growing at 2 or 3 or 4 times a competitor with a lower PE? Probably. That's because the valuation is going to catch up and exceed the former a lot quicker. While Microsoft's PEG ratio sits at 2.97. What if I told you Tesla's PEG ratio was at 1.28? The lower, the better. Now, what if I also told you that Microsoft, just in some of their filings that were released due to a court proceeding, Microsoft CEO expects 10% top-line revenue growth until 2030. That's not a lot. And what if I told you Microsoft was currently trading at a PE ratio of 36.22? But what if I told you that Tesla's PE ratio was 65.07, but they're expected to grow over 35% next year? And it could be a lot higher than that. Well, based off of that, what's the cheaper company? It's Tesla. The only difference is Microsoft has been around a long time, so people think it's quote unquote safer. Now, one of the things that has been very negative for Tesla has been their margins coming down. This is because they've been spurring demand with their price cuts. And this is like a gift that keeps on giving. Once you cut prices, word gets out. Tesla doesn't advertise, so it takes a while for word to get out that Teslas are now cheaper and people start to buy them, so on and so forth. The price cuts that Tesla did in February are still having a positive impact to demand today. And the margin story is an interesting one with Tesla. It's not a software business where to grow margins, you have to increase prices, something like a Microsoft would have to do. Well, Tesla makes electric vehicles, so there's a lot of ways margins could get better, such as what we've heard recently, like the Shanghai plant was cutting a shift, but still expecting to produce the same output. That's better for margins. Raw material prices going down or going up affects margins as well. Something that I've been tracking a lot as of recently is lithium. Lithium is a main component, obviously, of batteries, and lithium went from about $60,000. This is not dollars. I think it's a Chinese yuan, but we're going to use dollars just so everyone can comprehend this the right way. $60,000 back in November of 2022. Lithium started to fall off of a cliff. It hit a low of $16,000 per ton April 24th, 2023. During this quarter, and it has since recovered to about 31, but it's still down about 50% from that high in November. So Tesla works on contracts. If Tesla's renewing their contracts down here, which I'm sure they did, that's going to be a big boost to margins. This is a big reason why I think the EPS for Tesla could come in stronger than expectations. And based off of full self-driving, if we did get more sales there or other things like workers becoming more productive, you could see better margins for Tesla, and this valuation concern is going to get thrown out the window. Now, the next big catalyst is Deliveries, and that news is going to come this Sunday on July 2nd. Based on my estimates from China, really, we get data out of China. We don't get too much data out of America and Europe. It looks like Europe's going to be around 100,000 vehicles. Looks like China is going to be at about 170,000 vehicles. And it looks like America could be around 200,000+ vehicles. North America, call it Canada and the US, that's the wild card here. We don't know. If it's strong and it's over 200,000, you could easily be at about 500,000 vehicles. But per my estimates, you're going to be seeing deliveries around 489,000. If you're under that by a little bit, you're above that, it doesn't matter. The average analyst estimate is 445,000 deliveries. If you get a beat to that, the stock is going much higher from here. Now, I think this week you are going to see some reducing of some of these short positions, some of the bearish bets in Tesla. Short sellers have lost a lot of money in 2023. Typically, you don't want to bet against Tesla. And believe it or not, the last couple of red days we have seen makes it that much more enticing to get out of some of these short positions, since maybe they're not down as much as they were, obviously, when Tesla stock was just in the 270 range. It makes sense to see a rally throughout the rest of this week and to see an upward trajectory to Tesla's share price. A big reason for that, as well as a big reason the markets have been quite fearful lately, is we're going to hear from Fed Jerome Powell tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. So right as the markets open for trading. This is going to be a conference held with Sarah Eisman from CNBC. They're going to have the ECB president, like Fed Jerome Powell of Europe over there. They're going to have the UK Fed. We're going to have the Japanese Fed, and we're going to have Fed Jerome Powell. And UK, as well as Europe, experiencing a lot of inflation. Japan has been in deflation or a stable inflation environment for a long time. So there's going to be some very hawkish people there, right? The UK, the ECB Fed, with inflation that's hitting new highs of the cycle, and Fed Jerome Powell is just going to be sitting there like, is he going to be bearish? We don't know that. So that's a big thing that has affected our markets negatively heading into this. And I firmly think after we hear from Fed Jerome Powell, there's going to be a bullish reaction. Unless we get new information, unless we get a super hawkish Powell that wants to crush the markets, which is always possible, I think anything other than that, the markets rally because the catalyst is gone at that point. You're going to hear from Fed Jerome Powell again on Thursday at 2:30 in the morning. This is probably going to be a nothing event just because if he's going to say something that's going to shock the markets, it's probably going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be on Thursday. So this is the next biggest catalyst our markets have that could affect the markets negatively or could be a huge positive. And Fed Jerome Powell, again, just saying nothing is a huge positive. This could lead Tesla stock to rally into the end of the week. And the data we've seen today actually supports this. And it supports that we have a strong economy. Durable goods orders month over month came in this morning at 8:30 in the morning at 1.7%. The expectation was negative 0.9%. So blowing out expectations, this is a positive. Another positive is the Canada inflation rate. This also came in today at 8:30 in the morning. The headline year over year came in at 3.4%. You were expecting 3.6%. Month over month came in at 0.4%. You were expecting 0.5%. Core inflation year over year came in at 3.7%. You were expecting 3.6%. So not a beat there, a little bit of a miss. Core inflation month over month came in at 0.4%. You were expecting 0.5%. So all in all, it looks like the Canadian inflation rate is falling and Canada is closely connected to America. Forget the UK, forget Europe. They have their own issues going on over there. Canada, if they were to see their inflation ramping up, that would be a huge negative for our markets. Canada's inflation is falling. That is a positive for us in America. This should also be a positive for Tesla stock. And if we take a look at some of the positioning from hedge funds and institutional investors via the interesting flow sentiment on the day, you have seen 439 orders totaling $91.5 million with a positive order value of 56%. Over the past week, you have seen 9,000 trades from hedge funds and institutions totaling $2.72 billion with a positive order value of 65%. Think about the positive order value like this. You put a $100 bill into Tesla options. Today, $56 of that $100 bill went into positive options, $46 went into negative options. So anything over 50 is good. The higher over 50, the better. What we have seen over the past week is 65 essentially dollars out of that $100 bill going into bullish options, and $35 out of that $100 going into bearish options. So it's been pretty good over the past week, although you've seen a lot of downgrades and a lot of pressure on Tesla. If we take a look at the volume today, because these just track institutions, the volume is 57.5% positive for, or bullish or positive for this Friday. The open interest is sitting at 54% calls as well. The call volume or the put volume today is 42.5%. Open interest sitting at almost 46%. Some of the most active option expirations for Tesla would be the 250 call, seeing over 70,000 contracts trading hands today. These expire by the end of the week, with break evens on these sitting close to that 255 level. This would support a continued rally throughout the rest of this week, not to mention the 260 calls, which have seen 32,000 for volume today, and the $300 calls, which is the largest option expiration by open interest, with 43,500 open interest and volume on the day of over 8,000. This supports an end of the week rally with Tesla stock. Not to mention the short position in Tesla, like I mentioned previously, is sitting over $21 billion. This has obviously went down recently as Tesla is no longer $270 per share, but the shorts have not covered. And again, betting on Tesla to have a negative catalyst is never a good idea. So that narrative probably leads to some shorts reducing short positions, aka buying Tesla stock into week's end. In other EV news today, Lordstown Motors files for bankruptcy and sues Foxconn for a $170 million funding deal, saying that Foxconn did not follow through with its agreement to invest up to $170 million in Lordstown and for the two to work together on a range of new electric vehicles. This is leading Lordstown Motors stock to drop 35.5% today, as bankruptcy filings usually do cause. This is not a positive for the EV sector here on the day today. Home prices do go higher in April. S&P Case-Shiller home price month over month came in at 1.7%. You were expecting 0.8%, whereas the year over year prices actually show a larger decline than expectations at negative 1.7%. Estimate was negative 1.5%, and the home price index year over year comes in stronger than expectations at 3.1% versus the the 2.4% expectation, and the house price index month over month came in at 0.7%. You were expecting 0.4%. Long story short, how is this a positive for companies such as Tesla? Well, better home equity leads to a better thought of wealth. People, when their houses go up, they tend to think they are wealthier, in which they technically are, and they tend to spend more money, aka could opt to buy a Tesla a little bit sooner and ultimately make that purchase. Consumer confidence for June also came in better than expectations, coming in at 109.7. Estimate was 107. Richmond Fed manufacturing shipments came in worse than expectations at -5. Forecast was for +4. Fed services came in at -3. Estimate was 5. Dallas Fed service revenue came in at 3.6 versus 7 for the expectation. And the Dallas Fed services index came in at -8.2 versus the forecast of -15. So across the board, a little bit better data than expectations. We are also continuing to see massive bond auctions. Another one happened at 1 p.m. today for the 5-year bond, and this is replenishing the TGA that hit a low of $44 billion. Now sitting at $276 billion. So there has been a $230 billion draw on liquidity from the stock market, from real estate, from money mutual funds, from money market funds, from all different walks of investments. And this is not going to be a positive thing. The longer we go through this year, the Treasury is expected to fill the TGA by about $1.4 trillion. Now, there's a lot of inflows, there's a lot of outflows, but that's $1.4 trillion that no longer will be invested in stocks, invested in mutual funds, invested in corporate bonds. It's going to flow into Treasury bonds. And this could move around the yields of bonds, which could move around the markets. So we're keeping an eye on it. As of right now, it's not having a huge effect, but there is about $1.3 trillion left of liquidity that the Fed, well, the Treasury, is going to drain out of this market by the end of this year. As far as Tesla actually got a positive price target increase. Emmanuel Rosner from Deutsche Bank increased his price target from $200 per share to $230 per share and upgraded his rating from hold to buy. That was yesterday. Financial media is not covering this. Financial media is also not talking about the golden cross that just took place on Tesla, where the 50-day and now the 100-day moving averages have broke above the 200-day moving average. And the 100-day moving average just broke above this blue teal line today. 100-day is the orange line. The purple line is the 50-day moving average. These are positive things. When this happens, 90% of the time, the stock in question tends to go higher. In this particular example, it's Tesla. So Tesla's probably going higher from here. The RSI has also reset back to 59.01, where it was at a high of about 90. So it looks like on a relative strength basis, there is room for the stock to move higher from here. If you can break above 250, then you're probably heading back to that 270, 275 level. Now, it's very uncertain what Fed Jerome Powell is going to say tomorrow. If he doesn't say anything that upsets the markets, that's where Tesla could break out to a new high of this cycle by the end of this week. I previously forecasted around $300 per share heading into the big catalyst, which is going to be on Sunday. But it's possible Tesla does not reach there. It's possible Tesla trades sideways into that big catalyst. And then based off of deliveries, if we beat expectations or don't beat, that's where you might see that bigger reaction to the upside or to the downside. The MACD also on a momentum basis looks pretty good, as you can see from these big rallies in the past with Tesla. The MACD above this neutral level at about 1 is positive. The higher positive you are, the better. But recently, as you have started to fall with Tesla, the MACD has went into a short-term bearish outflowing territory. So we'll see what happens if Tesla bounces up. This RSI could quickly, or the MACD could quickly change, but as of right now, having a little bit of a bearish tilt, but a long-term bullish uptrend. That is going to conclude your daily update on the markets, as well as a specific look at Tesla stock. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you made it to the end of this video on your way out. If you want to again support the channel, link down below in the description of this video for Webull. Get yourself 15 free stocks when you sign up and deposit $1. It's free money, might as well do it, as well as come join the trading community if you want to stay up to date with everything I am doing with my Tesla position, what stocks I'm looking at, what I'm trading. All of that is provided down below in the link for the description, or in the description of this video for the link for that one. So that is it. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.